Everybody, welcome to a virtual bourbon event. My name is Steve Akley. I own a company called the ABV Network. I'm going to be hosting this event, and we're going to be tasting through Buffalo Trace Mashbill #1. Before we get to that, just a little bit of information about me. I own, like I said, a company called the ABV Network. We are a media company focused on just one thing: bourbon. That's all that we know. So everything that we do is bourbon related. We have a bourbon e-magazine. I write bourbon books. We have a couple bourbon movies out. We've got a TV show that we're editing right now. We've got blogs. We've got podcasts. We've got about 15 podcasts, 15, all dedicated to bourbon. We've got two of the top three on iTunes. We've got the Bourbon Daily, which comes out every day, gets about 50,000 downloads a month. And then we've got one called The Bourbon Show, comes out 6 times a month, which is a little bit more of the serious side of bourbon. We interview people from the industry. We talk about relevant topics and that type of thing. So that's what we're most known for, actually, is the podcast, just based on the sheer volume of numbers that we get in terms of downloads and those type of things. But we do a lot of other stuff. We're about 50 people strong, so it takes about 50 people to do all those things I just talked about, whether you're talking about movie video production or blogs and all that kind of thing, podcasts. And so I would encourage you, if you're into bourbon, we provide a lot of content out there, and you should check us out. And of course, we're the largest at doing these sort of live events as well. So I was talking a little bit earlier, we do about 3 of these a week. So these are would be, where you're tasting some unicorn whiskey like George T. Stagg. That's not the norm. We have a lot of different approaches to this. We do some blind tastings, which are fun. We do some, where we taste barrel picks, or we do, rate all the bookers for a given year. There's just a lot of different things that we do. So check it out. And the hub for all of this is my company website, and that's abvnetwork.com. So like alcohol by volume, abvnetwork.com. All right, with that, we're going to get started. This is a tasting. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about all of the brands as we go through them. The first thing that we are going to be tasting is the White Dog. So this is the base for all of the whiskeys that we're going to be tasting. So this is how all of them get their start. Just like this, clear as can be, comes right out as it comes off the still. We can pour that. Let that sit for a little bit as we talk just a little bit about. I'm going to give you not necessarily information on this mash bill. This is a bigger bottle too, because I like the idea of going back to it several times. So the idea here being that since this is the base for all of them, maybe it's a good idea to taste each one and then see how you can pull from the original mash bill and taste that White Dog, as it's called. I'll put that aside for just a second here. Just a little information about Buffalo Trace. Very interesting company. And of course, this stuff is always up for debate. And if you check your sources, there's always a couple of different sides of these things. But a lot of people will say that Buffalo Trace is the site where it's at is the largest continuously ran distillery, longest continuously ran distillery in the United States. So it really gets its roots back to before there was a distillery even there. In 1775, 2 brothers, Hancock and Willis McAfee, they distilled on site. They were European settlers. That's where they settled. And of course, you don't open a distillery. 1775, you weren't really opening a distillery like we envision it now. You're just a farmer, and at the end of the season, you're making whiskey. And these were the first 2 people to kind of make whiskey on that site. In 1812, a guy by the name of Harrison Blanton, he began a little bit bigger operation, but it's the same type of thing, really a farm distillery, not necessarily a conventional distillery like we think of today. That would change in 1870 when it was purchased by Colonel E.H. Taylor. And he would actually build a real distillery there, what would be more along the lines of what we think of today. And it was called Old Fire Copper, OFC. That's still a brand name that's utilized at Buffalo Trace today. It occasional releases and things like that, you'll see the big OFC. Sometimes they do very limited releases with that, of older stock and things like that. Other times they do it for charity. They'll release just a certain amount and, donate it all to charity as a fundraiser, that type of thing. So they do some very good stuff with that OFC brand. In 1878, George T. Stagg bought the distillery from Colonel E.H. Taylor, and he became the owner of the company. And then the distillery would be purchased by a company called Age International. And then finally, Sazerac would purchase it in 1992. There's a little bit of interesting history here. And I don't even know if Fred knows that. I talked about Fred working there. Let's see if Fred did, and I saw this today. I'd never heard this before. I heard that there's only been called 3 things in that entire history. And I thought it was actually 4, but I learned today that it was actually legally only 3. So OFC, Old Fire Copper, was the original name. Then it changed to George T. Stagg. That name was from 1904 to 1999. And then in 1999, it changed over to the name Buffalo Trace when Sazerac owned it. I always thought it was also named Ancient Age, but apparently when Age owned it, they painted the big water tower to say Ancient Age. And most people began calling the distillery Ancient Age Distillery. But in fact, legally speaking, they never did change the name. It was commonly known as Ancient Age Distillery. Legally speaking, it was at that time still known as George T. Stagg Distillery. So, did you know that? Have you heard that too, Fred?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Leestown Distillery when Hancock Lee ran it, back in the 1700s. But that wasn't really official. But yeah, I know Ancient Age. People called it Ancient Age, but it was never officially Ancient Age. It was George T. Stagg at that time.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting stuff. So that's just a little bit about the history of Buffalo Trace. Gets us to where we're at today. Again, Sazerac owns it. They changed the name to Buffalo Trace. They bought it in 92, but changed the name in 1999. So let's try our White Dog. First sip of that. We always like talking a little bit on the nose. And what do you get on the nose on this one? Again, you can share this either via the chat or via just open up your microphone. Either way is good.
Just bring it to.
Okay, let's see here. I mean, I get creamed corn. I mean, on the nose, I would think that would be something that, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I was going to say sweet cornmeal.
Yeah. You definitely get the corn on there.
70 to 80% corn.
Okay.
70 to 80% corn in the mash bill.
So that's why I say it's pretty accurate with our first on the nose there. Let's give our first taste of this one. Again, 125 proof. So that's going to be. I will say it warms you up, but it doesn't. It's not on fire for 125 is pretty hefty on the proof, right, Fred? And it's not overwhelming by any means.
Mostly corn.
Yeah.
Pretty smooth, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But smooth for firewater. Yeah. You're right about that. Sweet for sure. Yeah. Sweet and corn. That's what, but again, if you're talking about a mash bill that's going to be in the 70 to 80% corn range, it makes sense that just coming off the still, it's going to taste like corn. So, yeah.
But that's what all these start.
Makes some sense for sure. So, with that, we're going to set this one aside, but we want to come back to it because we want to taste these and see if we can pick up, where it comes from. So its roots. So, the first one that we're going to be trying, we can pour it now, and I'll give you just a little bit of brand history information. That's Old Charter. So, Old Charter. A couple things about Old Charter. I didn't realize it was this old of a brand. Old Charter started in 1874 by brothers Adam and Benjamin Chapizzi, and they had a distillery in Bardstown, and they made that product from 1874 to Prohibition. After Prohibition, they did not make a comeback. They got out of the business, but the name was sold to Bernheim, and Bernheim famously had it, but they only had it a couple of years. They sold it in 1937. So in 37, Schenley bought it, and Schenley was a big brand for them. I didn't realize how big of a brand this was. They actually sold over 1 million cases over the next a little bit less than 30 years. So in 1974, they barreled their 1 millionth barrel of the product of Charter, and they gave a case to the governor at the time. So Governor Wendell Ford, they gave a case from the 1 millionth barrel, which I thought was interesting. In 1987, it was sold to United Distillers. They ultimately, of course, we know, went out of business. 1999, Sazerac bought Old Charter, and it has remained theirs ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what do we get on the nose on this one? Nothing at all like our White Dog.
No. Like a kerneled apple.
Kind of cherry.
Kind of cherry, yeah.
Cherry nose.
Cherry nose. Definitely sweet caramel. Yeah, I agree with Donnie. Says caramel. Light brown sugar. Those are good ones. Yeah. Very, very sweet candy-like on the nose. Undertone of cherry. So yeah, kind of agreeing with Fred. Bubblegum from Justine. Which goes
I'm thinking beech nut gum.
beech nut gum. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the old school stuff, beech nut.
Only a few of us remember beech nuts. Yeah, Jerry knows.
I do, I guess. Unfortunate, maybe.
Those old guys and girls.
Yeah.
Beech nut made by Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a good nose. I'll say that. I like what's going on that nose. All right. Let's give this one a try, and then let's share what we got on the taste here.
It's nice.
So that's this one right here. Comes in at 80 proof. So it's a little bit of a finish to it. Not a whole lot. Again, 80 proof is always a tough proof. I mean, you're not gonna get a lot of big hug or anything like that when you're talking 80 proof. But I think the flavor is good.
There's a lot there for a young, low proof bourbon. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm getting a little more of
Does the
that
cat have to pay?
cherry Manhattan finish
Got some.
in there.
Kind of like a Manhattan finish, you're saying? Yeah. So, yeah. Mark, what do you think?
I liked it. It was good. Yeah.
Butterscotch on the flavor. Just like Joe said. All right. Couple agree there.
I've never had the Old Charter, so that's a nice one to try.
Yeah, for bottom shelfer, something that's very accessible.
So that one placed in our best bourbons under $20.
Yeah. Do you remember where it finished? I don't remember, but
It was fifth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did a project where we had 12, and the top 6 we took a look at, and so apparently it came in number 5.
So is Old Charter, does that come out of the Buffalo Trace Distillery, or is it
No,
it's part of the family, or is it?
It's part of the family. Yeah, it's part of the made at Buffalo Trace there.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yep. Yeah. So, yep. Very, very cool. Rob, what do you think on this one?
You don't have to travel.
It certainly is light.
Yeah,
Pleasant.
definitely pleasant. Yeah. 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 It's got some flavor to it for sure. So, which, as Fred mentioned, you don't necessarily get a whole lot of that in the 80 proof category. Leo, how about you? What are you thinking?
Pretty pleasant for 80 proof. I feel like there's not, it's almost sort of, and this isn't a negative thing. It's kind of astringent for 80 proof, I feel like, but in a good way. I mean, I get the butterscotch. I like the cherry, undertone of cherry comment, but better on the nose maybe than on the palate, but it's good. It's good for what it is. I think for sure.
So Joe, you're picking up some oak now on this one?
Yeah, it took me a few sips. A little sweet at first, but I'm starting to taste it now.
Okay. Yeah. And we like to go around the horn twice on these things. So that's always an interesting aspect to it too, is we like to put them down and then come back to them. So that's That's kind of a fun part of it because they do change. They do evolve a little bit and as they get some air to them.
He's got them all lined up, so they're
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting some spice on the finish too.
Little spice, yeah. Yeah, I'd say at the very front of it is where I get to, on the spice on this one.
I'm getting it at the end.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, to me, I get a little spiciness, but to me it stays up front. So yeah, just a different thing there. And then it kind of goes to the mid palate on the finish, but again, shorter finish, but not to be unexpected, I'd say. Stephen, how about you? Where do
Yeah,
you
I'm getting
fall?
the spice on the front back end spice debate. I'm towards the back end. I forget who said that. It might have been Joe. It might have been somebody else. I did it again to see where I got it. I fell a little bit at the back end on the spice, and it kind of sticks around a little bit.
Yeah, sticks around just a little bit. Yeah. Last one, and then we'll move on to our next one. Betsy and Nikki there. What do you guys feel?
Yeah, we agreed with the comments that it kind of has a bit of more interesting nose. I got a bit more nut on the palate than maybe butterscotch, but I don't know that anybody else got that, but that's kind of what I was picking up on the palate.
Yeah, I mean, I got like the butterscotch, the caramel. You know, wouldn't have necessarily guessed it was 80 proof. I mean that as a good thing. So yeah, it was an enjoyable pour.
Yeah, I'll say again. We'll come back to it. We'll put it aside for right now. Then we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be following along the lines of proof, Benchmark. So Benchmark comes in also 80 proof. And Benchmark is now famous because it recently came out with a lot of different types of benchmarks, which I think is cool. We did an event dedicated to that. So they have 6 different iterations now. They got like a foolproof version and stored on the top floor, and a lot of different ones, single barrel. So you can try the exact same whiskey in a lot of different ways, which is it's almost meant to be for something like this. I mean, it's really a pretty cool thing, and all very affordable. Those all cost me, in the $15 to $25 range, depending on which one you got. So. All right. Benchmark, just a little bit about that. Benchmark was created in the 1960s by Seagram's. So Seagram's, they came up with the idea of the name Benchmark because it would be like the standard of excellence. It would be the benchmark which all other bourbons should be measured by. It didn't come out just in a regular bottle. It was more like a decanter style bottle, something that we see like in Rock Hill Farms these days, a little bit classier type of bottle. In 1989, Sazerac purchased it. They did change the name when they began making it at Buffalo Trace. So they put Hancock McAfee. So they call it McAfee's Benchmark, based on again early European settler that was making whiskey there. So that's why it was not by Seagram's. They didn't call it McAfee's Benchmark. That came later. So most people don't say that, but that is the official name. All right. The nose on this one. Cranberry on the nose. Okay.
Less than Old Charter by far.
Mm-hmm.
Nutty.
Nutty. Okay. Nutty.
Yeah, I agree. More subdued nose. More subdued nose, I feel like, than the Old Charter. Very much milder.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
You notice that right away.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other ones coming in, kind of tied together. Werther's, which is that caramel candy that has, kind of creamy caramel candy.
Yeah.
Get that. A bit of vanilla and nut. Yep. Joe says it smells like bourbon. Okay. The classic answer, right? You can't go wrong if you say that. You're not wrong, Joe. You're not wrong. Of course, you're never wrong with anything on these things because it's up to your individual taste, your individual palate, your nose. So it's your system. So it's whatever you're catching. Let's give this one a try. Taste, see what we got here. Okay.
Much more of a mouthfeel than Old Charter.
Yeah, it's, when you're 80 proof, you tend to feel less viscous, more watery. This one feels a little bit more viscous, even though it's the exact same proof as Old Charter. So it definitely has a different feel to it.
What is viscous?
Mm-hmm. What's it, viscous?
Yes.
Yeah, so it would be like oily. So yeah, like you talk about the viscosity of the oil. Yeah, so your bourbons can be a little bit more viscous, a little bit more oily, coat the mouth a little bit more, versus more watery, which is gonna just disappear as you drink it. It just goes, just clears the palate as you finish it. More pepper than Old Charter.
You can you can feel it filling your whole mouth,
Mm-hmm.
like as almost like you said, oily, like almost like it's spreading through your mouth.
Yeah. So that's going to be that viscous feel as it spreads and kind of stays there. I like the pepper. Bob Whitlatch said that, more peppery, because it definitely has a little peppery component to it. Sits more on the tongue. Same thing, viscosity, soft and light.
Yeah, I like the silkiness. I'm getting a little cola aftertaste, a little light cola on the tongue.
Okay, that's good.
I'm getting a little bit of licorice in the finish also.
A little licorice in there. Okay.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm picking up that cola too. That is
Yeah. I definitely get a little bit more oak on this one than the Charter. So I don't know age-wise, again, not age stated, but I would guess that Benchmark is a little bit older. Maybe they're the same. I don't know. Fred, do you know anything about that? Any insight?
I'd say the Benchmark would be 4, Old Charter 3.5.
Okay. So yeah, just a little bit of age difference there. I'm impressed by both the Old Charter and the Benchmark. Again, for bottom shelfers, they're good. I feel like the Benchmark would hold up better. It doesn't feel like the Old Charter has enough to hold up in a cocktail. It feels like it's just a little too soft and light.
It's already a cocktail by itself.
Yeah. Whereas the Benchmark feels like it would hold up. And what I mean by that is you could taste the bourbon through the cocktail. So yeah, I always hate when you get a cocktail and you can't even taste the whiskey in there. It gets lost in there. So this one feels like it could stand on that. And again, 80 is a tough proof for cocktails. I think a lot of cocktails get made with that because it's at the cheaper end of the spectrum typically. But if you're not using the right one, it's easy to get lost in that. So, but this one feels like it would hold up. Mike, what do you think?
That was funny. Somebody said cola, and the first thing I thought of was like if you're chewing cinnamon gum and then have a big drink of Coke.
Okay.
That's kind of that. You get that pepper burn and then that cola aftertaste.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of getting on there. But there's still enough fruit hanging around in there to make it pretty pleasant. But man, this would be one I'd throw in a cheap, good-looking liquor store decanter and set it out there and tell people it's really expensive and
yes.
A hero.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things too. The old blind tasting is all the great equalizer and all this stuff. So that's why we do a lot of the blind tastings these days, because you just get preconceived notions if you see a label or know a brand, anything like that. So you try them and you'd be surprised. Nicholas, let's have you weigh in on this one too. What are your thoughts on a Benchmark here?
Yeah, I got some of that pepper. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, there's definitely pepper on there. Nancy? We don't see Nancy, so we're hoping she's still there. I don't know. No, she's not coming in. The Schraders.
Can you hear us, Stephen?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I think I heard somebody say something about licorice, and I kind of got a little bit of a licorice there. I was thinking of Adam's licorice gum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After Fred said the licorice, it's one of those things. That's what's so great about these sorts of tastings. Then you can find them as you taste it again. You're like, wait a minute, that is there. He was right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Nancy, I saw you on camera there for a second, so we'd like to get everyone engaged and involved. Justine told me not to call on her tonight. So she's my associate. Justine's the one who creates the great labels. So normally when I do them, I'll give you an example. For the smaller events, I just handwrite them. And Justine is just, it gives her the willies, seeing that, it's not professional. So for our big events like this, the holiday, a lot of people got as a gift. She's like, you can't send out, Steve, your handwritten labels on things someone's getting for a holiday gift. So she made me, she created all the labels that you see, and they look great. They look like little mini versions that you would actually get from the distillery. They're not.
I know. I was very impressed.
Yeah, she did all that. So yeah, that's cool.
You need to pay attention to Justine. She knows what she's talking about.
She does. She does. So yeah. So she does a lot of this stuff for us. So, and Justine appears on some of the shows. She runs our shop and stuff like that. So Justine does a lot of things at the network for sure. Helps me out on all these events too. So it's always Justine and I. We found I used to just do them by myself, but then every once in a while you get like an internet problem, get kicked off, and it's like I can't do an event where I'm not even on the thing if I ever have an internet problem. So Justine's here as my backup just in case I get booted at some point.
Let me know when my new table's gonna
So things have been going pretty well though. Rick Brenner. No, I'm a St. Louis guy. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning. I live in St. Louis. One of my fellow St. Louisans here, Rick Brenner. He's on a lot of these too. Rick, what are your thoughts on the benchmark?
Make sure you're home.
I like it. I like the foolproof version of this better, but
yeah,
that's another that's a whole other story. But yeah, I can pick up on the licorice and the cola.
It's not there.
Yeah, but it's for an 80 proofer, it's pleasant.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't believe it's allocated now.
Yes. In not everywhere, but in certain markets, it is allocated, which is hard to believe, because you think a benchmark, you think that's lower on the shelf, but yeah, even so many Buffalo Trace products, popularity, they're just, they make a lot of good stuff and they're popular. Fred, I'm sure you deal with all this stuff all the time. People want to know why they can't buy their favorites. I can't ever get any blends, or I can't get this. But that's
how do they allocate it? Do they do it by region or just by the number of?
It is by region. Yeah. So sometimes it can be, and even, like the regular Buffalo Trace, which will be the next one that we're going to be trying. That's allocated again in certain markets. Like in St. Louis, I can get it at the grocery store, but there's other places where, I see that, people can't get it. So it's
in Clearwater, Florida, and you can only get one bottle if you're lucky.
Okay. Yeah.
Kentucky.
That's funny because Colorado Buffalo Trace is the only thing that seems to be pretty regular. I can go dang near to any liquor store and find it there, but anything else we're going to drink tonight, there's not a snowball's chance to get any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's reverse here.
Yeah. All right. Next one that we are going to pour here, we'll go ahead and pour that Buffalo Trace. So that's the one that's, again, allocated in certain markets, not in others. Looks like this. I remember when this one came out, it really kind of changed everything for me. I mean, this came out again in 1992 to become the flagship of, once Sazerac bought the distillery, Buffalo Trace became their house brand, if you will. And of course, then they changed the name to the distillery to Buffalo Trace later on, 1999. And for just the regular flagship whiskey, this would be their flagship, I would say, because it's the one that's named after the company. The first time I tried it, I couldn't believe it. And it was really cheap at that time. So you're talking circa 1992, $17 bottle or whatever it was at that time. And it was, cheaper than, many of the other things. It was cheaper than Maker's Mark or right in line with, Jim Beam white label. I thought it was pretty amazing stuff. And I switched to that, and that was kind of my house brand for a while. This is before I could get it in St. Louis, but I would go to Kentucky a lot to go and visit distilleries and things like that. And I would pick it up when I went there. So, and then it made it to St. Louis, and I was happy as can be and told everybody about it. And that's why they're so successful today, because all that work I did from St. Louis, and then it worked its way out across. I just was a fan. So, all right, let's give this one a taste. First on the nose. Again.
A lot of pepper going up the nose if you breathe in hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caramel. What about caramel smell again?
There's caramel.
Some raisins and some stone fruit.
Raisins and stone fruit.
That's a good one, yeah. Raisins, yeah.
Yeah. Raisins is a good call. I get that.
A little bit of heaven and a whole lot of hell yeah. That's my go-to.
That's it, right? Yeah. Can't go wrong with that. Caramel and oak. Donnie, what do you get there? Caramel forward, agreed. Yeah. Donnie, you're just on mute. There you go. There you go. What do you think on the nose? Caramel. Yeah, everyone's getting that. So let's give it a taste then. Let's see what we got here.
This will stand up for mixing.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure. This one comes in, by the way, at 90 proof. So this is 10 points on the proof scale higher.
Yeah.
So
now I get the raisin, Betsy and Nikki. I get the raisin now for sure. I feel like the taste.
Yep. Yeah. Raisin is solid there. Also peppery. So there's the pepper.
Yeah.
More pepper than on the nose. There you go.
Yeah.
More wood also. More oak.
Wood. Definitely. Definitely. Maybe like a caramel roll too. I mean, there's a little bit of the baked goods in this one with the caramel taste. Caramel and oak.
That spice is just exploding in my mouth right now too. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about some of the other ones, front of the palate, middle of the palate, back of the palate. This one kind of gets you all over the palate. So buttery spice. It's good. It's a good descriptor. Mark, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, the pepper. I mean, I didn't really pick up the pepper when I was smelling, but Fred's right. When you taste it, it really is very spicy, much more spicy.
Yeah.
Compared to the other two.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I've always enjoyed Buffalo Trace. It's always a really nice bourbon. So.
Yep. Yeah, Rob, where do you sit on this one?
I really like Buffalo Trace, so it's everything that I like in a bourbon. Great, caramel, vanillas, and then sort of a nice long spicy finish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those, if you just sit there after drinking it, you're going to feel that in your mouth for a while. It's going to, those spicy peppery things feel like little mini explosions going off. So feels like it's detonating across your palate, which is interesting. Casey, how about you, man?
Well, being relatively new to bourbon, I would say that if I was thinking of the dictionary definition of a bourbon, I think I'm kind of here. It's got a lot going on, a little bit of everything, not too much of anything. Keeps your mouth interested. It's got great mouthfeel, the spice, burn, the sweetness, the oak. It's all just kind of very well balanced all the way around. I can see why this would be easily a house whiskey.
Yeah. This one for sure. I mean, I would almost categorize this as a sipper that'll work in a cocktail, Yeah. But in reality, this is good enough. You don't need to pour any Coke in here or whatever else you could mix it with. It's great.
Yeah.
You're talking about aged for 8 years. It's aged for about 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
About 8. Yeah.
About 8 on this one. That's pretty good. Yeah. Very good. We're definitely doing good there. All right. Next one. Colonel E.H. Taylor. So this is the small batch, Colonel E.H. Taylor. Pour that, and then I'll tell you just a little bit about it. Of course, this goes back, Colonel Taylor. I talked about, the fact that he owned what is now Buffalo Trace. It was Old Fire Copper when he had it, but, he owned it. But he did sell out in 1878. So he had some financial problems. George T. Stagg ended up buying the distillery from him. Colonel Taylor was there for a little bit longer, but then he would leave, and ultimately he'd start his own distillery. And what's so cool about Colonel E.H. Taylor was he was a visionary. A lot of the things that we think about today, Colonel E.H. Taylor was doing them back in the 1880s. So we think about, tourism and opening up your doors to guests to come in. Literally, Colonel E.H. Taylor was doing that at his distillery, which of course still exists today. It's now Castle and Key. He was welcoming guests back then, and not only for tours, but they would do events there. A lot of the things that we think about, this is all modern age stuff. Colonel Taylor was doing it back then. He did a lot of branding and things like that. So you can still find like pocket knives with Old Taylor on there from back in the early 1900s and stuff like that. So yeah, they were doing a lot of the things that we associate with modern bourbon. They were doing them back then. Old Taylor, first bourbon to hit 1 million cases. So it was a very popular brand back in its day. And the crazy thing about this is I love this deal. I didn't realize this, but on 6/24/2009, so June 24th, 2009, Buffalo Trace acquired the Old Taylor brand. And I don't know how much cash was swapped, but part of the deal was Sazerac sent Effin Vodka to Beam. They got the Old Taylor name, which of course then they branded a lot more with this Old Taylor like we've got here today. I think Sazerac really got the better of this deal. I mean, I'll take that Old Taylor brand any day over Effin Vodka. Oh.
He definitely got
yeah. So Beam, and again, maybe there's also cash involved there. I don't know, but part of the deal was the two brand swaps were those two. Sazerac got not only the name but all the existing stock of the Old Taylor that they had there. So that was part of the deal too. And of course, they've turned it into a huge thing. Obviously, Old Taylor brand had been around since the days of Colonel Taylor. Kind of, was a good, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, kind of a butterscotch bomb type of bourbon, but ultimately fell out of favor and became a bottom shelfer. And that's what it was when Sazerac bought it. But of course, they've revitalized the whole thing by coming out with the E.H. Taylor version of it. So you see them like this, they got the canister, which was a traditional thing too. I didn't realize this, again, doing a little research for this event. Back in the day, in Colonel E.H. Taylor's day, you could buy some of their Old Taylor brand in a canister like this. And of course, it's bottled. All their stuff is bottled and bond for Colonel E.H. Taylor because he was so involved in that legislation that really helped, settle the before the Food and Drug Administration. Colonel E.H. Taylor helped with the legislation that got arms around exactly what bourbon is. So they came up with the rules that helped some standardization and that helped the industry, and really is a big part of where we are today is because of the work that Colonel Taylor did. So great historical brand, and did a lot for the industry as well. All right. Let's get this one up and let's talk a little bit about what we're getting on the nose. Of course, this is a bottled and bond product, so that means it is 100 proof. Part of the rules to be a bottled and bond product, minimum of 4 years must be it must be 100 proof. Can't be 101, can't be 99 or anything else other than 100. So what are we getting on the nose on this one?
Pepper.
Marshmallow from Leo. That's good.
I'm thinking more like raisin or bread, almost like a
raisin or bread, or raisin bread.
Raisin bread.
That's a thing. More toffee is what Jay's saying.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Fred, any idea? You've had some insight about general ages. What about We know it's at least 4 years, but any idea what a lot of the barrels are on the E.H. Taylor, the small batch?
The E.H. Taylor small batch is about
6 years. Okay.
about 6 years. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ginger snap cookies, burnt
Mhm.
sugar, all
Right.
good, all good descriptors here. Maple syrup, undertone. All right, let's try this. A lot of good ones on the nose. Let's see what we got on the taste. That is really good. Sweet up front, a little bit savory at the back, you know, a little sugar sweet. I would say sugar sweet right out of the gate for me, right on the front of the palate.
I agree.
Very sweet.
Time we go up to another brand that just get more flavor, more everything. You know?
Yeah. Creme brulee. That's a great description there.
Right.
Even with the correct stuff on it. I don't know what you call that. Everything is right there. That's the way I see it in the dessert menu. So yeah. He says it's autocorrect. I would have just taken credit for that. Yeah. Bubble gum up front. Yeah. Again, because it's so sweet up front. All right, Donnie's saying peppermint. So this is all one of those challenges that when someone says they find peppermint, let's give it a try and see if we can find that as well. Okay. Anybody get the peppermint? I can't say
I'm definitely getting the pepper.
Okay.
I'm getting the pepper part of that, but
we'll keep looking for the mint, and then we'll pair them up. You're
That's,
halfway there.
Show up in that third sip, you know.
Yeah.
That's the 100 proof. That's the hot part of the hottest part of what we tasted so far. The peppermint, I feel like.
All right, Betsy and Nikki. I hate to call on you two at the same time, but you are together, so you know.
Okay.
It's okay. Okay. What do you think on this one?
It's very sweet. It has a nice finish. Longest finish of the ones we've had so far. It's just a really good. It's just a really good sipper.
Yeah.
And I agree. I was thinking caramel, but then when Rob said creme brulee, I'm like, no, that's it to a T on the palate.
Yeah. So, and you know, Joe just said killer legs, and that's the same thing. When we're talking viscosity, we're talking that oilness. That's what's going to keep it on the sides of the glass. That's going to be the same thing that's going to coat your mouth and allow those flavors to stick there and linger and allow you to get a little bit more out of it. So, you know, very viscous bourbon here. So, highly desirable when you're trying to do a tasting. So, yeah. Very, very solid. Nicholas, what do you think of this one?
The way you described it earlier was exactly how I thought, like the sweet start and the savory finish.
Yeah. It does transition a little bit where, it yields to a little bit savory on the finish there. It's got a nice warm finish too. It's good. It's very solid. Leo, how about you? Where do you come in on this one?
I like the comment on savory because you're right. I do get a little herby, almost like I'll go on the peppermint limb. I'll go with rosemary almost. It's,
okay.
It's very interesting. Start to mention herb or savory. That's what I read into it. That's interesting. I didn't. That's one I caught after. I think it was Nicholas that said that. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that's what helps out so much about this. You know, doing these group tastings where, everyone kind of contributes. And that's what you don't be afraid to ever say anything on these because you might be surprised. Other people, as you say something, will be like, yeah, absolutely. So that's good. All right. We will come back to this one as we circle back and go through all these at the end just to give it a little bit more airtime. But the next one up, this one, I don't know how you can go wrong with. Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
Wow. A 10-year age-stated product And I know it's a little bit tougher to find than it used to be, but it's not impossible. You can find this one if you spend the time looking around. And coming in at 30, 35 bucks, it's almost like there's not a better deal in bourbon, really. I mean, this is something special. So let's give this one a pour and talk just a little bit about it. I got a couple notes on Eagle Rare. So Eagle Rare was introduced in 1975 by Seagram's. Actually, their master distiller at the time, Charles L. Beam. Yes, part of that Beam family. There's a lot of them out there, and they worked at more companies than just Jim Beam. So Charles L. Beam came up with this product. It hung around at Seagram's until 1989. Of course, they went out of business. Sazerac acquired it, and it became part of their regular lineup. And then when they did their 2002, they came up with the antique collection, which is Eagle Rare, George T. Stagg, which we'll be trying later, William LaRue Weller, Sazerac, and Thomas H. Handy. They had an Eagle Rare in there as well. So a 17-year-old product. So there's two different versions of Eagle Rare. The 10-year-old, the one that's available, if you can find it, a little bit tougher to find. But then there's the BTAC, which those are almost impossible to find. That's a true unicorn, the BTAC collection. So, all right, on the nose, what are we getting on Eagle Rare? All right. What do we think? I'm not supposed to call in Justine, but I'm going to. Justine, what do you think?
I think my nose is broken. Like I keep getting bubble gum. I don't know if I'm tainted from, I mean, obviously they're all the same family, so, but yeah.
Yeah.
A bubble gum, a hint of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get bubble gum too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some vanilla, maybe some oak.
Vanilla and oak.
Like a toffee. That was like a vanilla toffee.
Toffee. Yeah. So cream makes some sense there too.
Yeah.
That's what Jay said. Okay.
Same recipe as Buffalo Trace exactly, except not as much of a nose. Buffalo Trace has more of a nose to it also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody getting like a raspberry to it? There's almost a raspberry nose. That's what I'm getting.
Raspberry.
You're getting a tiny hint of like a Cubano coffee. The sweet, and this cream, just a little hint of roasted.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's see what we get on the palate here. What do we get on the taste? This one comes in at 90 proof as well, by the way.
Smooth, smooth, smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is, we talked about a sipper before. This one could be a gulper. I mean, this one is throw it back and go. It is very good. Yeah.
A lot of fruit on the palate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say it's the least spicy one that we've had. You know, there's always been a spice component. Very, very light on this one. You know, even if I go back to the spice I was catching with, you know, Benchmark and Old Charter seemed to be a little bit spicier than this one. That 10 years, minimum of 10 years, as we know, right, Fred? That 10 years doesn't mean that's 10. That's going to be the youngest barrel that went into that. So it could be 14 years, 15, it could, anything, as long as it's older than 10 years is in here. So it's going to get a lot of time. Chocolatey, yeah. There's definitely layers to this one that I think you could pick out just about anything from a continued tasting of it. I mean, there's a lot going on here. More along the lines on the sweeter side. Definitely, you know, we just the Colonel E.H. Taylor we just had, you know, had the kind of the sweet and savory. I'd say this one keeps sweet throughout for me.
We could just sip this all night long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Reminds me of the cream and a chocolate covered cherry. That's a good one. For the first time in a while, getting some corn. Okay. Back to our base, our white dog that tasted so much like corn. Catching it in here. 10 years after the fact, at least. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This would be one that you just want to drop in front of somebody who's not tried bourbon before and says, what does bourbon taste like?
Yeah.
Give them this. All right.
Okay.
The next one is Stag Jr. Stag Jr., the son of Stag Jr. This one is interesting. I have an interesting relationship with this particular offering. Looks like this. Comes out twice a year. So Stag is the first one that we're going to talk about of all the ones that we went through. Don't forget, for the most part, they've been acquired, other than, Buffalo Trace, which was brought on as the flagship when they got this. The rest of them were through acquisition, but this is an original. So they, of course, after the famous distillery owner, and the distillery was named the George T. Stagg Distillery. So this one followed George T. Stagg, which was introduced in 2002 when they came out with the Antique Collection. So again, that is the one that we're going to be trying next. Barrel strength offering comes out once a year. Very hard to find. As they say that the ones that are so hard to find, they almost are non-existent. They're called unicorns because you can't find them out in the wild. This one, it comes out twice a year. A little bit, it's tough to find too. I'm not going to say this is easy to find, but it's certainly easier to find than George T. Stagg. This one came out in 2013. And the reason why I said I have an interesting relationship with this one is because some of these I find are just more along the lines of hot to be hot. And I'm not a big fan of that. The George T. Stagg that we're going to try in a second, I always find it, despite a very high proof, is well balanced. Some of these offerings, and this one comes in at 126.4 proof, so this is going to be pretty high up there. Some of them, we'll see how this one fits. Some of them, it feels like it's just heat to be heat. Let's see if this is a balanced batch or not. Let's see. This is, this is from last year. So I don't know if it was the early release or the late release, but let's give this one on the nose, see where we're at here. Pretty quiet on the nose, right? I mean, let me see the back of the bottle. Is this the back?
It's a cool bottle.
There you go. And then here's the other side with the label on it. It is a cool bottle. All right. On the nose, hint of banana. Yeah. Cinnamon. Yeah.
All of these have the same basic kind of components in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
But there's different variations with each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all the same, but all different too. So yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's try it. Let's see where we're at here. Again, 126 proof.
Whoa, strong up front.
It is. It hits you right away. It doesn't sit around and it's gonna punch you in the mouth. It's right as you drink that, you're drinking high. Finally found some peppermint. Okay, I agree too. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, very minty.
Mm-hmm, minty. Yeah.
Very minty at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that heat gets you right away. But there is some flavor there too. It's this one's not hot just to be hot. This is a weird one.
There's a spiciness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the pepper, but I mean, there's like I don't know.
Black pepper, like that type of pepper. All right.
The spiciness to it.
There's
A
also
little sweetness, a little sweetness.
a little sweetness. I would say almost a little pineapple-y taste. I mean, it's a unique sweet taste up front. Really long finish. Yeah, I agree to that. Touch of coffee, spice. Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be sitting around drinking this one all night, you're committed. You've made a conscious decision. There's a place you want to go in your mind, and it's not where you're at right now. You're wanting to go somewhere else. So, yeah. Yeah, this one, like the Eagle Rare, because it drinks so smooth, you could sit there and drink one after another, and it feels like it could sneak up on you. This one's not sneaking up on anybody. As you're drinking this, you're drinking alcohol.
This jumps out at you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Slightly musty taste. Yeah, musty, I don't think is in most parts. Most things you describe musty as good. In bourbon, it's actually okay because it kind of gives, some of that older whiskey has a unique musty taste to it, which is desirable. You'll want that. So it's not a bad thing when you're talking about bourbon, a flavor note.
The Stag Junior is aged for about 8 years.
Read the bottle or take a sip. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mike, what do you think on this one?
I'm getting a lot of leather.
Mm-hmm. Leather's definitely there. Yeah,
but enough sweet to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of the leather tobacco notes for sure.
I understand about that. When you said that tobacco, there's like a
mm-hmm.
almost a memory
of on the end of a cigar.
Yeah, it is. There's like also this memory of a cigar, comes back in on there.
Yeah. Mr. Whitlatch, what do you think of this one? Oops, you're on mute, I think. Yeah.
The nose is pretty subtle. The initial taste on the palate is anything but.
I agree. Remember, I said it's surprisingly soft on the nose. It's definitely one of the softer ones that we've had. But
what's the proof on this, Steve?
It is 126.4. 126.4. Yeah.
The real deal.
Yeah.
Steve, I got to be honest with you. It's not extraordinarily pleasant to keep sipping, and I don't need to be a downer on any of these. But compared to some of the other ones, a few sips in, you're kind of like you're gearing up for that next one because it really hits you up.
I agree.
Up front.
And that's what I've said. Why I have a difficult relationship with this one because it's just it's so hot, so strong. It's not necessarily I don't know where that fits because I do like to sip. The best case scenario for this one, and we're kind of getting to that time of the year when it starts getting really cold outside. Then you kind of want something a little bit more oomph there, and this has definitely got the oomph factor for sure.
Oh no, this definitely could inspire me to break out the snowblower when it goes down a foot.
I feel like this is something you drink when you're trying to forget somebody.
Right.
But you're having a good time doing it. And I keep picking the glass up, even though it is really intense.
Yeah, it's intense for sure. Fred, what do you think? Obviously, this is part of your product lineup. What are your thoughts on this one?
I go with the intense. Yeah, it's compared to the Stag itself. I mean, the Stag is so smooth.
Right.
I just got a 2017 Stag, and it's so smooth. It's incredible, and it's higher proof. No,
Yeah.
129.2.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Steve, have you done this with adding any, knocking the proof down, adding a little water to it?
I have not, but that's a good idea to do. You certainly can put a couple drops of water in there and see what you think. Sometimes that'll open it up, cool it down a little bit, open up some different flavors. Not a bad idea.
I'll be honest, I actually love the intensity of Stag Junior. In fact, it's probably one of my top favorites.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if like I said, it's unflinching in its presentation to you. So if that's what you're looking for, it's there. And like I said, from the time it hits your lips, it lets you know it is barrel proof.
Well, I get the somebody had mentioned leather before. Maybe it was you yourself, Steve. But one of the tough parts about this one is mouth feel wise, it almost takes over your whole. It almost takes over everything. It's so intense. You really have to have some wherewithal to break it up a little bit. That's the tough part I have with these hotter bourbons. They're fun and they have a lot of flavor, but it's tough to break up the mouthfeel when it almost takes you over a little bit.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, and after you quit drinking it, after 2 or 3 minutes, it almost tastes. That's like the best part, is that really long finish, and the flavor that's left is really, really enjoyable then too.
Yeah. It's definitely not an unpleasant experience in terms of the taste, that type of thing. It's just how prepared are you for the intensity of it? It's definitely an intense bourbon, and in certain cases, I like it as much as anything. But there's other times when I don't, and it's definitely not a summertime drinker. You're not going to be out cutting the grass and then take a break and drink you some Stag Junior. It's just not one of those for sure.
Only if you want half a lawn mode.
Right. Okay. The last one that we've got here is George T. Stagg. By show of hands, who's tried George T. Stagg? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of what do we got here? 20 or 21. 6 out of 21, 22. So yeah, not a lot. Now, Rick Renner, famously, I talked about being a fellow St. Louis guy. He did his the wrong way. So don't do this to people. We have a local liquor store here. I live in the 63129 zip code here in St. Louis. Rick lives in the 63123, so he's a little bit away. Our local liquor store had a raffle, and Rick came in, and I'll be damned if he didn't win the George T. Stagg coming in from the 63123. I protested, but they still sold it to him. I was like, from now on, we need to show licenses. You got to be from the zip code to be able to buy in there. So yeah.
No, this year, Steve, they moved that lottery to the 63123 zip code.
I need to come in and win something. Yeah. So George T. Stagg, just to be upfront, is my favorite bourbon of all time. To me, Stagg is the king. People will ask, now, can I say, when they ask you what do you always like to drink, I can't say I always like to drink George T. Stagg, only because I can't find it. It's tough to find. If I get a bottle a year, that's a good year. So it's not an everyday drinker, not because I don't love it that much, because I can't find it. But it is fantastic stuff. I will say that it's so it was introduced in 2002 as part of the antique collection, comes out once a year in the fall. Tough to find, but it's ranged in proof from 116.9 to 144.8. So here's what the bottle looks like. Our offering tonight comes in at it is the 116.9. So this is the lowest George T. Stagg that they've ever had. So this is at the bottom. They've had it everywhere from 116.9 to it's called, the nickname, if it's 140 proof or higher on bourbon, is hazmat. So that's hazmat status. There've been a couple times it was over 140. So yeah. So that's tough. And those bottles go for big bucks. Fred, don't you wish you had a bunch of old 144.8 bottles that you
had any of the Stagg? I mean that this was aged on the first floor of the warehouse. That's why it's so low in proof.
So low in proof, yeah. So a little bit different for sure. All right, on the nose, Joe's saying musty. Musty's good in bourbon. Musty's not good if you're talking about, that couch over there smells musty. That's not good. In your bourbon, though, that's okay. That's all right. Leather and banana. That's good.
The burnt sugar.
Burnt sugar. Yeah.
A little bit of fruit in there.
Leo's saying perfume.
Sweet
Major
plums.
banana. Joe. Plums. Yeah.
Just a lot.
Just a lot. Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah. We talked about creme brulee earlier. I don't know if I could spell it with all the little stuff in it. You get that on the nose on this one too. All that stuff is there. So much going on. All right. So let's give this one a try. Here we go. George T. Stagg, folks. Yeah. It's everything is there. So sweet, burnt sugar, sweet.
It's perfect.
That's there. It's just a perfect
It's
drinker.
perfect.
It warms up nicely, but not that overpowering.
Yeah.
It's not the mule kick like we got with Stagg Jr. Whether you like that, again, you might be in the right mood for that. Again, there's not anything wrong with that, but this isn't that. This is high proof, but drinks nice.
What is the proof on this, Steve? I'm sorry if I missed it.
116.9 is where this one comes in at.
It's smooth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For that proof.
It really has a brandy-like character to it. It really is very like heavy mouthfeel, but very smooth, nuts, and interesting spices on the back end. Really good.
Yeah, like a vanilla extract.
You know, when you drink a bourbon, it has like all that flavor, and then it just sticks around too long, and it's just hanging around. It doesn't have that. It just has everything, and then it stops, so you're ready for the next one.
Yeah. And, you know, if you just look over in the chat and you're seeing all these different things, banana, sugar, musty, vanilla, latte, perfumey, honey, caramel, vanilla extract, that just tells you the amount of flavors that are packed in here. And this is one of the reasons why I love bourbon so much. I mean, I like other types of whiskey too. I like Irish whiskey, but I always feel there's not the complexity there that we find with bourbon. And it makes sense when you're using brand new barrels. That you're pulling a lot more from that barrel than if you're using a used barrel, and some of that stuff's taken out of there. So
bourbon is so much sweeter, Steve, than other whiskeys. That's why I like it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So, but this for me, the king. Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
Jay, is that a sweetie undertone? But that's fantastic. I'm gonna leave my Stagg right there, actually.
Yeah.
Other comments about George T. Stagg?
Well, anyone that doesn't like theirs, I'll drop my address in the chat. Just send whatever you have left over.
Package it up and send it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wish I could.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's to go out to buy a bottle of this is tomorrow's to-do list.
Yes. Let me know where you find it. And
yeah.
It you know, and the great thing about Buffalo Trace and what they do, I don't even know exactly why they do it. Their retail is very affordable. I mean, it's $99, you know, $99 to $109 is the suggested retail. Again, a lot of liquor stores will up that price. The secondary, you know, you're talking about this would be $600. You know, this bottle here, if you want to find this on the secondary, you can find it, but it's going to cost you $600.
Wow.
Well, I can buy it right now. They want $899.
$899. Hit buy.
Unless I do the gift wrapping, then I can add $15.
Well, once you've done the $899, why not? Why not? Go ahead and treat yourself. Yeah.
Steve, I think last year when I got that bottle, I think I paid like $93 for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the 63129.
Hey, Steve, I think I may have had too much to drink. I just ordered a case.
I'm very happy about that. I'm sure I'm going to get one of those bottles.
Hey, Fred and Steve, I'm out in New Jersey, and I've just been poking around on my phone. I mean, it doesn't seem like I can find any of this stuff anywhere. Is that common, uncommon, and so I just need to poke around more, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, you just need
find it in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, these are all pretty tough to find. Other than all at the the very beginning of the spectrum there. The White Dog you can find, the Old Charter, the Benchmark, Buffalo Trace, depending on your market. But in St. Louis, it's easy to find. Other markets, it's not. But yeah, then once you start getting up to the Colonel E.H. Taylor on forward, then it starts getting to be really tough to find some of those. But that's part of the fun of what we do. Go around, you'll find it. For the most, other than the George T. Stag, I just can't give you any insight on that one at all. I mean, you got to get lucky and get in all the lotteries and stuff like that, which allows you to buy it, and you get with the legit liquor stores that allow you to buy it at retail price, which is nice. I hate the ones that where they give you the opportunity to buy it for a secondary price. I don't need that. But if you can, the legit liquor store allow you to buy it at the retail price, that's good. But I was telling the group last night, New Jersey is crazy. There's a guy in St. Louis, a buddy of mine. He has a brother that lives in New Jersey, and there's a liquor store there that is selling off. The guy's selling his personal decanters that he's collected for years and years and years through his liquor store, and he's selling them for cheap, like Michter's, like the Tutankhamun. You ever see the big? It's a cool. I'd love to have one of those on the back of my bar. It's a gold and blue King Tut, mask. It's $25. He sold two. This guy, the brother of my buddy, he bought two Old Crow Chessmen, which some people tell you that's the best bourbon that's ever been made. Best bourbon that's ever been made. Two of those, $35 a piece. What the heck is going on? Why would you sell those for $35 a piece? I don't get it.
So. Steve, New Jersey in this area, I mean, it's all about craft beer. So you could there's probably like a 12-ounce bottle of beer that they would charge more than $35 for.
Right.
So I got to start poking around for the real into it whiskey places, because it's all craft beer, which I don't complain about. I drink a lot of it, but that's the main thing, especially coming out of New York.
Yeah. So be on the lookout. Yeah. See what you can find. You might find some honey holes out there, as they like to call those good liquor stores. The old honey holes. See if you can get some of your own, and maybe you get piped in, you can start getting some of these.
We're spending $1.2 billion to expand, so we're doubling our distilling capacity.
That's crazy. Doubling distilling capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right, let's take a quick trip back through just to see if any of these have changed. We won't take as much time as we did the first time through. Let's start all the way back with the White Dog. And again, a little bit different perspective. You've been through all this now. I don't know. Tastes now on the nose. To me, this is buttered popcorn. Is what I'd say. See if on the taste here.
It doesn't taste like buttered popcorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not something that we said. That's not what we said the first time through, but man, now that's all I'm getting.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. It's liquid buttered popcorn.
Agree. It is. Yeah. That is crazy. That wasn't even mentioned.
I know.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious.
I know. It just jumps out at you.
Yeah.
I mean, butterscotch and popcorn.
Yeah.
Like the Jelly Belly, pretty much. The Jelly
Belly. Yeah, which is that's the best Jelly Belly, by the way. That's the good one. So,
that's a very that's an opinionated topic, but I agree with you.
Yeah. So, but that's why it's fun to go back through. You get another perspective, and it's a one note song now. To me, it's
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing, by the way. That's good. All right. The next one that we tried was our Old Charter. That's a little creamsicle-ish now.
Banana.
Big time.
Oh yeah, but like Nilla wafer.
Banana pudding, yeah.
Yeah, banana pudding, or banana and vanilla. Yeah, so kind of yeah. It's like these flavors are now exploding for us. So
yeah,
maybe we're just all lit. I don't know. Everything, our senses are just they're just out there now.
It's like a glass of banana cream pie.
Yeah, that's banana cream pie right there. All right. All right, let's try benchmark. Who knows what benchmark's going to be? These are good going back through. All right. Nothing stands out.
So Steve, are you saying we should buy a bottle of George C. Stagg and take one sip and then just go to the benchmark all night?
Right. I think so. Yeah, I think that's how you save some money, though. Yeah.
That's how you make them
That's
last
even
for 2 or
sweeter
3
now
years.
than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
That benchmark falls flat, I feel like, compared to the White Dog and Old Charter.
Yes.
After what our palate went through, I almost feel like it falls completely flat.
It's more watery. I mean, it feels like it lost its flavor in the time we've been away.
Just tastes like sugar water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The time has not been kind to that one. All right. The next one that we had was our Buffalo Trace. Standard offering, Buffalo Trace. Lost some of its flavor too. Again, I don't know that it's lost flavor as much as we've been, drinking some higher proof stuff. Palate's a little desensitized. A little spicy still, but
yeah, that overall pepper is not there like it was the first time through.
Yeah. Again, that's probably more on us than it is on what's happening in the glass, but we've drank several up the scale. Okay. All right. Let's talk Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch. All right. That one's still got a spiciness to it, peppery. But it feels like less flavor notes than the first time we went through. Again, this is why you definitely always want to go when you're doing a tasting, you follow the proofs. So you start with your lowest proof first and work your way up. You never want to work the other way because the palate gets, it gets blown out a little bit. It gets a little palate fatigue there. And it's harder, with the lower proof ones. So, all right, let's see how the Eagle Rare holds up. Eagle Rare. That one's still just a smooth, solid drinker. That, definitely can be enjoyed as is. Any other flavor notes picking up on this one different than the last time?
Not really. It's standing up better than the other ones for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's holding its own. The next one, I can almost guarantee is holding its own. Stag Jr. Stag Jr. I don't feel like this one's going to lose anything, but we'll see. A little bit more burnt smelling, Let's see here. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, get you up front. Long, warm finish.
I almost feel like that one opens up a little bit better than now that we've gone all the way up and back down again.
Yeah, let's try and I wanted to save it until now. Let's try, if you don't mind, if you want to, you don't have to, but put a little water in there. A couple drops is all you need in your glass. Just put a couple of drops in there and see what happens. Sometimes that'll totally change these higher proof ones. Sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes it's not. So we'll see what happens here. I think that's good. Yeah. Gives it a little bit more cinnamony taste. It takes away that initial punch. It's still spicy, still warm, but for me, it opens up some different flavors. Like I said, I'm getting more kind of a cinnamon bun or something like that.
Taking away that first punch is the biggest difference for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you experience the rest because you're not just still recovering from the original sip.
I agree. So probably, yeah, cinnamon. Jace agrees. A little sage. Back to herb notes. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that helps. I'm not a person big into putting water in. I just like to drink it as it comes on the barrel. But for one that high on the hot scale, I think it's a good idea to try and just see what you can do. And I do like this a lot better with just like I said, about 2 drops of water in there. Wasn't a whole lot. And we finish it with George T. Stagg. That's the best one I can ever offer you guys. To me, it's just a personal favorite. I don't know where it falls with you guys, but definitely my favorite of the evening. Does anybody, again, there's no wrong answers here. I'm not calling anyone out because I'm saying they're wrong, but does anybody like anything better or different than the George T. Stagg? Because there's no wrong answers. It's all personal taste.
I actually like the Stagg Junior over this George T. Stagg.
Okay.
I've had this George T. Stagg. I think that's the 2019.
Yes.
And I think I've had about the last 4 years of George T. Stagg, and I felt like this is kind of the outlier. I think the other ones are much stronger. And I agree with you that George T. Stagg is sort of the quintessential bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
2019, I think, was just a little bit, it's a shadow of other George T. Staggs.
Yeah. Yeah, that lower proof is definitely something different that we're not used to with the George T. Stagg for sure. Anybody else other than the Stagg?
I mean, I enjoyed the Stagg, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because of my years of familiarity and enjoying the Eagle Rare. I would still tend to fall back on the Eagle Rare. Just everything else is just because it's just I drank it for so long, you know.
Right.
It's been that. But I will aggressively look for a bottle of the Stagg and try to add that to my collection. It was good. So
very, very good. Yeah, I agree with Eagle Rare. I think it's just one of the best deals out there. I mean, when you see that, and again, because it's a little bit harder to find than it used to be. So now if you see it, I always feel compelled to grab it and buy it, even though I've got, some stock here. But, for the $30 bourbon, 10-year age stated, that's as delicious as that. Yeah.
You can't beat it for the $1.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody can hear me, but I'm going to start a GoFundMe page. And I'm started a George T. Stagg.
GoFundMe? Sure.
GoFundMe. So, I mean, I love you all, and I hope you'll contribute.
Donate to the cause. Donate to the cause. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Steve, you mentioned you mentioned the Eagle Rare, and Stephen P. You had mentioned in New Jersey it's tough, and Jay had mentioned it too. New Jersey stuff. I don't know if you have Costco there, but the last time that I found a bottle of Eagle Rare at rack rate was a limit one. I'm in Chicagoland. Limit one, $29.95 or whatever it was, but $30 for Eagle Rare at Costco limit one. So maybe check out the Costco. And Stagg Junior. The only time I found that at a decent price was at just searching on Drizzly, and then looking at what bottles are where around me. I got alcohol delivery options, and then go to those liquor stores and build a relationship with those folks. But the more available things like Eagle Rare, I found at Costco, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Don't get the legend started. He loves Costco.
No, I appreciate that. My wife and father-in-law are at Costco essentially 4 days a week, so they should get whatever comes in. They should see it.
Yes.
Tell them to keep an eye out. Give them all the lists. Give them the list. Just make the laundry list and say, if you see any of this, just buy it up, because they're paying pay rack rate at Costco, like Steve A said, you know, you don't know what you're going to get aftermarket or whatever it is, but at Costco or some good liquor shops, when you can pay rack rate, that's a great find.
Yeah.
It's a great way.
Leo, most of the time at Costco, you're paying under MSRP.
Yeah.
You know, if you can find whatever you find there.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did stumble into a little liquor store in northern Wyoming this past summer.
Yeah.
And picked up 2 bottles of Eagle Rare out of the 8 they had sitting there. I should have bought all of them. They were 26 bucks a pop.
Wow.
Wow.
That is a great price.
And of course, right after I paid for them, I said, you're not charging enough for these. And she said, what do you mean? I said, never mind, just keep charging what you're charging.
It's almost like my Yellowstone buy.
Yeah. Rick famously buys things by the case a lot. And they had an incredibly low price on a Yellowstone barrel pick at Total Wine. And Rick, of course, he had to get out of his way because he ran to get a shopping cart.
It was like half price. I'm like, I couldn't get a shopping cart fast enough.
Yes, he did. That's not wrong.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, that is the end of the official tasting tonight. Again, I do like to, because there's so many new folks here, we always stick around after that, but I do record these again specifically for those that can't attend these. So I'd like to say goodbye to those folks, and I will stop the recorder, and but I'll stick around and feel free to ask any questions that you like.